Hey guys, my name is Ravian, and today in this video I will be showing you how to make future house in the style of Dastic, Mike Williams, and all those future house producers. Today's video there will be a free FLP, so you can go down to the description to download it. It will take you to a Dropbox link, and then you can get all the files necessary from there. But let's get into it. Start off with a layered piano chord progression. For the layering in the pianos, all I have is a 4-front piano. It is a free VST, and I have a Nexus piano, which is the dance piano. The processing on the piano is pretty simple, just an OTT and a parametric EQ to cut the lows and boost the highs. Same with the other piano, just cutting the lows. Next, make a sub that's following the root notes of the chord progression. For the sub, all I have is a filter for an automation, and I just put the sub in mono. Near the end of the build sub, instead of following the chord progression, it keeps this note right here and holds it. While it's holding, I put a pitch bend on it to automate. Sounds like this. This pitch automation could help build tension in your build-up. For the rest of the build-up, make sure you add lots of risers and downlifters. You could also use white noise and a crowd effects to fill up the mix. Next for the build-up, layer drums. For the fill right before the drop, you could add a nice drum fill with some various downlifters and risers. For the last step of our build-up, we can add an acapella. When you find the right acapella, make sure you go online and look at the BPM and match it to the BPM of your project. Also, try to find out what key it's in and match the key to your project. For this specific acapella, I had to pitch it up 400 semitones.
Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got.
Once you have your acapella, you can create vocal reverses. You can achieve vocal reverses by finding the last part of your acapella here, and you could add a lot of reverb to it. Once you add all the reverb, you can export it and bounce it back into your project. It will sound something like this. Now all you have to do is reverse it. Once you have the reverse vocal, you could fit it into anywhere of your song. Here, I'm putting it in the fill. Now we can go over some automations on the build-up. First off, I have this master volume control on the build-up. The automation just comes from a fruity balance with the volume control. What you can do is turn this down 3 decibels. Once it's turned down 3 decibels, you could copy that value, create an automation clip, and paste the value into your automation clip. What this will do is we'll slowly turn down the volume of your build-up so then when the drop hits, it sounds louder. Another automation I have on the build-up is basically a high-pass filter. This automation is used to cut all the lows right before the drop. That way your drop sounds more powerful and has more lows than your build-up. We'll start with the sub as an example. So for this automation clip, find the channel, whatever instrument you want to automate is on. Put any filter you want on it, and make sure it's a high-pass filter. Create an automation clip for that high-pass filter. This is what it sounds like. Notice how all the lows cut out. That's what we want. In order to keep it just like this with one automation, what you can do for other instruments, you can put a filter on that instrument bus, because these two are linked to this bus right here. You go to the filter, right click on whatever you want to automate, and link to controller. This little screen will pop up and you can link it to any controller you want. My controller is named Basically Endless Smile, since this automation is Basically Endless Smile. Once you're done, press accept. If this little dot is checked, make sure to uncheck it, as it doesn't let you link multiple controllers at once. Now all our instruments with this high pass filter sounds like this. One more cool automation trick you can do in the build-up is convert everything slowly to mono. That way things sound less stereo and less wide. That way when the drop hits, everything is back to wide. You can easily achieve this automation clip by going to your instruments and right clicking right here. This is the stereo separation in mono. You create an automation clip, and then you slowly convert it to mono. With this automation clip, notice how everything goes wide and then all of a sudden goes to the center. With all these steps completed, your build-up should sound something like this.
Don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up.
Let's move on to the drop. We can start with a drop sub. The drop sub should just follow the same root notes of the chord progression, but chop it up a little bit so it's bouncy and fits your melody. We'll cover the melody later. The sub I'm using here is just a Silent 1 preset. For the processing, I put the sub in mono, cut some of the highs, kickstart for sidechain, and automation for volume. Now we could cover the mid basses. You can just have your mid basses follow the same pattern as your sub. Make sure to have a nice distorted crunchy mid bass. You can achieve a nice mid bass by layering several basses. Here's my mixer track for the mid basses. I'll go over every single layer. While the processing on each bass is going to be a little bit different, most of them are the same. Start by removing most of the lows for the sub frequencies and remove a little bit of the highs. Then you can boost or lower any frequencies you feel like they need to be boosted or lowered. This applies for every single one of these basses. What I like to do is route them to a single bus, that way I can apply any effects I need to all of them at once. You can link to buses by highlighting all of the tracks you want. Once they're all highlighted, select the track that you want to link to. Right click on it, track routing, route selected to this track only. Now every one of these sounds is linked to just this mixer track. So if I mute it, you can't hear anything. On the bus, kickstart for sidechain, EQing, OTT to glue everything together, free balancing for volume automation. Now onto the chords. Once again, you could follow the same chord progression from the intro. For this type of future house, you don't want your chords to be too present in the mix, but you want them to be heard. You want them to fill up the mix. But do make sure to use different layers to achieve a fuller sound. I have a few layers for the chords here. Here are all the layers I used for the chords. The processing on the chords is pretty simple, just like the bass. But notice how some of these are panned to the left and to the right. This panning here is called stereo separation and will make your chords sound wider. All the smaller sounds that aren't too present in the mix are panned to the left or to the right. But the ones that I want to be more present in the mix are kept in the middle. For the mixing on the chords, I just used some EQ, cut the lows, and on the bus I have quite a few effects. Kickstart for sidechaining, more EQ, OTT to glue the chords together, some reverb, delay, more EQing, fruity balance for automation, and another reverb for automation. For this reverb here, the size is very high, decay is up a little bit, and the wetness is high as well. What you can do is add an automation clip on the mix level. This will create an uplifting effect on your chords. I put this automation in the gap of the chords to fill up the mix, or else it sounds empty. Also by now you might be wondering what all the fruity balance is doing on all my bus channels. This is a volume automation to cut out all the frequencies at certain points in the mix. Dastic and Mike Williams do this a lot to add more bounce to their tracks. For this song here, I put the automation at the beginning of each section of the chords. This is what it should sound like. I also did this automation for every single instrument in the mix. I also made sure to cut out any white noise where this volume automation took place. Now we can finally move on to the melody. Make sure to create a nice bouncy melody that's kind of uplifting. Also make sure to layer it quite a bit to achieve a nice full sound. You may not have to layer this many, but make sure you layer a few. I'll quickly go over some of the layers. For For the mixing on the layers, it's still pretty simple, just like the chords and the bass. EQ, some of them have OTT, and notice how I still do the stereo separation with the panning to the left and to the right on some of the non-present sounds. On the bus for the melody, I've added sidechaining, fruity EQ, OTT to glue together all the sounds, delay, more reverb, reverb for automation, fruity balance of course for the automation as well. I've done the same reverb trick that I did on the chords with the big reverb, but this time I put it in different places. Should sound something like this. This is a really great technique that's used by a lot of big producers, and it really sucks the listener into the melody and creates a nice bouncy vibe. And of course on the drop melody, just like all the other synths, I put the volume automation. Now that we've covered all the synths, we can move on to the drums and effects. You could start with a nice punchy kick. Then you can layer some claps. Make sure to use pre-shifted claps as they're used a lot in future house and bounce songs. Next, you could add in various growls and effects to fill up the mix in spots where it's needed. You could also add in various drum fills to fill up the mix as well. For all my claps and various effects, except for these toms here, I put an EQ and cut most of the lows. Even though all these claps and effects may not have a lot of low frequencies, all of them could slowly add up and create a muddy mix. Next, you could add in downlifters and white noise. I've added these automation clips here to pan from the left to the right. This moves the white noise and the downlifters to the left and to the right, leaving more room in the middle. You can do this automation with any white noise, up, down, or downlifters, or any noise you feel that is too centered. On top of all this white noise down and downlifters, I have added this static white noise here. White noise just really helps filling up the mix in spots where it's needed. Leading up to the fill for the second half of the drop, I have put various uprisers. I have also done the panning automation for these as well. For our mid-drop fill, make sure to get a nice synth or piano to fill. Also make sure to add lots of drums, effects, downlifters, and risers. You could also add in a part of the acapella from the previous build-up. For the second half of the drop, keep all the drums the same, but just add various shakes and hi-hats. Altogether, the drums for your drop and second half and the fill should sound something like this.
Got to pump it up.
Now with all those elements combined, here is our final result.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up.
That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit that like button, and if you want to stick around for more videos and how-tos, a lot of EDM stuff on this channel, make sure to subscribe and stay around for more. Don't forget that in the description there will be a link for Dropbox where you can download this FLP for free. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.